fire away.
Yeah, so all set to go, Mark. Thank you.
Fantastic. So welcome everybody to the Cricket Wales Club webinar for junior organisers and national programme leads. Really pleased that you've joined us on your free time this evening, and special thanks to our 4 speakers this evening. We hope that you pick up some really useful tips for the 2023 season for your All Stars, Dynamos and your open age cricket. We have 4 amazing speakers from 4 local clubs that will be talking around the subjects that you can see on the screen in front of you. But before we go into that, I'd like to introduce Mr. Mark Frost from our Cricket Wales team, who's going to say a few words. Mark, over to you.
Thanks, Mark, and thanks everyone for coming on the call. Just put a bit of context of why we're putting this webinar up. Back in the autumn, Cricket Wales asked all the clubs in Wales to tell us how many people, kids, boys, girls, men and women are involved in cricket, how many volunteers we've got. And one of the big messages, apart from cricket's in a very buoyant shape, was that a lot of junior coordinators said we've got tons of kids in our All Stars and Dynamos, but we haven't got enough organised age group teams such as under 11s and upwards as people go through the transition, the cohorts. So there's a real bottleneck there. And we know that across Wales, we haven't got enough under 11 teams to satisfy the number of dynamos coming through. On average, in each club, we've got at least 25 dynamos, which are coming through, hopefully coming into under 11's age group as they go through. So tonight's all about keeping those kids in the game. And you're going to hear from some clubs who've done some fantastic work in volunteer recruitment. And we're going to use this to encourage clubs to be more ambitious so that they can keep all these All Stars and Dynamos going all the way through the age groups and to have a fantastic first experience and stay in the game for life, hopefully. So that's the scene, and back to you, Mark. Thanks.
Okay, I'll just share my screen again. So coming back to the advert that you've all seen, we're going to start off with how we get parents and to help with our All Stars and Dynamos, then training new volunteers. Unfortunately, our 3rd section, creating additional Dynamos activities, our speaker is not available this evening, but we will cover that in some fashion during the evening. A 3rd section is moving Dynamos into under 9s, and the last one is setting up an under 11s team. We will add a small section just after that with regards to how Cricket Wales can support you in these different areas as well. So we're going to go over to our first speaker, who is Shana Thomas from Anistawe CC, and she's going to tell us all the great information about how she's got her parents to help her with All Stars and Dynamos. So I'm just going to come off share, and Shana, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mark, and evening, everybody. So why I've been asked to lead on this bit. My journey, I suppose, started 2 years ago at Anistawe, taking the lead on All Stars and Dynamos at Anistawe Cricket Club. So this is my 3rd year at doing so. So pretty much chucked into the deep end and making it up as you go along, which is always a good recipe for a steep learning curve. So from the start with me, one of the things that's really important is what I call the customer care and the journey that is not only the children go on, but it's also the parents, grandparents and guardians that actually bring the children along to our sessions. So it's making sure that what they receive from the outset is a positive experience. And that cricket becomes something that the child and children want to keep coming back to week in, week out, and obviously the lifelong love of cricket in years to come. So from the start, what we did is really making the parents, grandparents, guardians, whoever's bringing those children, to make them feel welcome and involved. This really started from building that relationship from the moment they've actually registered, the time of signing their children up to the programme. Following up on the questions, obviously in that sign up online, where they're being asked about how they'd like to help be involved in the All Stars Dynamos programme at that club. Now, it's easy to, I suppose, say one day that you'll help and the next day you comes to it and say, well, I'm not sure about this, I don't know what I'm doing. It's about really making sure that it's encouraging as much as possible what it's about and really laying it out so they can actually learn as they go in. One of the key things that we've done at Ynys Tower is from the moment they signed up onto the programme is to put them into a WhatsApp group so that people can see who else is on the programmes, the fact that they can see that the friends are on there, didn't realise their children were signed up, and just gives them a little bit of that interaction really from early doors and how we can actually bring them on that journey. Those WhatsApp groups, I've got a separate All Stars and Dynamos one, and for every person that comes on, there's a welcoming their child or children onto the programme as well, so they get that positive experience and the buzz from the word go. What we tend to do as well is every week, when we know what activities we're going to be doing with the children, we try and share some of those activities, not all of them, because we don't want everything not to be a surprise for the children, but we're trying to share a little bit about what we're trying to achieve out of the sessions, so that actually the parents and hopefully the volunteers that we're going to be recruiting have got a bit of a heads up really in terms of what's coming. So they could do their little bit of research, even if they are under the radar and not quite understanding what we're going to be doing, how they can actually contribute. So they could actually come to sessions feeling a little bit more sort of on board and ready to get their hands dirty. One of the big differences that we've done at Ynys Tower is from that word go and making sure we're encouraging parents to get involved is having an All Stars and Dynamos, or I suppose I'd call an on-field coordinator, to continue that engagement on a regular basis. So before, when we obviously ticking off the attendance registers, during the sessions and after the sessions, week by week, so that parents have got one point of contact to be able to go to, that they have got any questions, they can go to that one person, and that's been me over the last few years. That on-field coordinator allows us to spot those parents, guardians, grandparents who are looking interested. And as we walk around, we spotting the ones who are up, looking at the ones who are up on their feet, going to collect the balls, looking as though they want to help the children, even to the point of going to tie somebody's shoelaces up who's not even their own child. Little things like that, we clock that, and making sure that we'd actually have the opportunity as sessions going on to actually go around and talk to these people and encourage them, having that conversation. It doesn't have to be anything about the session, it's just making that interaction happen. So we're actually in a position to, as the weeks go by, be encouraging them to get, you know, collect the balls, go and get the stumps, go and get the cones, as much as the children love doing that bit of it as well. It's about getting them wanting to actually get involved. One of the things in those conversations is making sure that they know that no cricketing expertise or experience is really needed to help us with All Stars and Dynamos. It really is getting them to want to give something back to the club after their children are buzzing after sessions. You know, the conversations that happen on WhatsApp groups after sessions every week just shows how parents are enthused by what their children are experiencing. So we want to harness the child's experience to the parent as much as possible. So talking to parents about how important it is to the clubs that we get parents volunteer their time to help us out, and making sure that they know that actually their help will give us those solid foundations to give the best experiences to all the children to start their cricket journey. With over 100 children on the pitch every Friday last year at Ynys Tower, it really was a bit of a challenge to make sure that we had enough volunteers week in, week out, in all of the groups where we had lead activators. You know, especially through COVID, we had people dropping out last minute because they couldn't come and they were isolating. So it is making sure you've got that checklist constantly rolling of they drop out, who else can help? And building that interaction and a really good rapport with the parents was just critical. I think, you know, unfortunate, but fortunate for us during the COVID years that we harnessed using our volunteers through our parents even more than we had done any time before. So even with 100 plus children on the field, which is organised chaos, as I'm sure all of you do know, as much as a challenge it was, it gave us a real positive opportunity to embrace and engage with those parents even more. So we really needed them to get stuck in. A number of our parents have gone on now to help out with their children in the junior age group cricket at the club as well. And, you know, it's great to see some of those starting their volunteering journey by actually becoming a coach and actually completing their foundation phase coaching course. And then they've gone on to level 2 yet, apart from myself, but hopefully that will be the ambition in years to come. The more that we can keep them, and knowing that we keep them for as long as their children are actually involved in All Stars and Dynamos, which is quite obviously a short turnaround, needing to constantly replenish our stock effectively of volunteers is a critical. There's nothing you can take your foot off the gas at all. So that's kind of a bit of a whistle-stop tour from our perspective. But just to summarise from me, it really is making them feel part of the programme, keeping them engaged and informed, making sure that positive experience is there from the start is the be all and end all, and just knowing that their children are receiving the positive experience makes it more likely that the parents are going to want to follow through and actually help us out on the field as well. Thanks.
Thanks, Shauna. Thanks, that's really insightful. And just to follow up on one of those points with regards to the amount of volunteers and parents that were helping, that obviously leads to a bit of a issue with regards to making sure that everybody's got their DBS, everybody's trained. So we'll come back to Shauna. I'm sure there will be plenty of questions in the chat box and we'll come back to that. So thank you, Shauna. That leads us on to how do we actually train these new volunteers, and what methods work to actually get everybody on board to come to a training session. I won't steal his thunder, but I'm going to introduce Matthew Slug from Penarth, who hopefully has got some good ideas with that. So let me just unshare now. And Matt, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Mark. Evening, everybody. As Mark said, I'm Matthew Slug. I am junior coordinator at Penarth Cricket Club, and I've been involved with All Stars initially from the outset, I think, which I think was 2017. So we were one of the clubs who got on board with All Stars at the start, and have taken Dynamos on as well. And we've really used it as a tool to drive growth within our club, to the point where in 2022 we were the second largest combined All Stars and Dynamos club in the UK. With a total of 273 kids registered for the two programs, which, as you can imagine, brings a lot of challenges, not least of which is staffing it. So as Mark has asked me to do, I'm going to talk a little bit about how we train our volunteers, but also probably touch on a few points that Shana's already made in terms of the recruitment, because we can't train them if we haven't got them. So we sort of set off in a few different directions from a recruitment point of view. So we badger the hell out of our existing club members. So we're a big club anyway. We run 4 senior sides, and we've got a pretty large thriving junior section already. But we have to tap into that resource really hard to staff this thing. So we go hard at our players and our social members to try and get involved and to do anything, literally anything that they're willing to do, whether that be fire the barbecue up on a Friday night or get out on the field in shorts and t-shirt and help us out. We make really good use of our networks in terms of who we see signing up. So all the information that comes through from Club Spark with registrations, we make really good use of identifying the people we know. So among the team of us who look after All Stars and Dynamos, We generally have, or a number of us have kids at the relevant age groups, so we're fairly well connected in terms of people we know who are parents of our kids' friends, people we know from other sports who we think might be likely targets for getting their hands dirty with All Stars and Dynamos. And we make no apology for going out directly to the people we know and asking for their help. So we use those networks really hard. We use the opportunity to email collectively all the signups, and that was a surprise for us last year. That was a surprisingly effective way of getting some response. So as Shana said, the people have ticked a box to say to which degree they would be willing to get involved, but we've really gone out months in advance from February, March onwards. As the registrations are coming in, we've gone out early to try and get some sort of commitment from people to do some work with us. As has already been said, we make it known that you don't need to be a cricketer, you don't need any real knowledge, just a bit of enthusiasm and some willingness to help to help your kids and their friends enjoy themselves on a Friday night. But we really did lay it on a bit and explain to them the need that if we're going to do this thing on such a scale, what we needed to do. We went then from everybody that came back to us, we worked really hard to cleanse our Club Spark database last year so that we could start then using the automated facilities in that to get people to sign up for the courses, so to become activators. So we knew we needed 30 plus activators minimum to staff the sort of numbers that we're running. We got way beyond that. With everybody on that list, DBS and to some extent trained through the activator courses. Because of the scale of our operation, Mark and his team have been really kind to us in the last couple of years and have come to us to sort of mass activate our activators. So we've had our own sessions where we've been able to get people to come along, do the session with Mark and his team to get themselves onto that list, but at the same time conscious that we need to have that database in place so that they can be signed off, so that they're turning up, doing the course and getting the recognition for it. And then we as a club are being have some comfort that we're compliant and we have the right ratios in place and that we can do this thing justice. And then the last thing that I'll touch on in terms of the training aspect is we put together a system with our safeguarding team where we just had and it was them, not me, in fairness. We've got an outstanding team on safeguarding, but they put together just a little private online resource for us that we could just simply add names to. And that served as our little internal database for DBS, so that we, as we added a name to the Club Spark list, we added it to our internal spreadsheet that we were keeping, which enabled us then to see exactly where everybody was in terms of DBS. And we ended up with this huge number of qualified, for want of a better word, activators with the right DBS checks, and that system sort of keeps generating. So we're back again now to February time and starting to add more names again to the bottom of that list that we can push through. But we've I think done a pretty good job in the last few years of recruiting and getting these people trained so that we can be, because we're a very visible club, we can be comfortable that we've got all the right boxes ticked in terms of our compliance, but also in terms, as Shana said, of giving the kids and their parents the best experience we possibly can. And I think that's about it from me, Mark.
Thanks, Matt. Very, very precise with your information. Anybody who's a national programs Club Spark lead, over the next few weeks, the teams are going to start communicating in a lot more detail with regards to the training opportunities that are available to new activators. Ian will touch on that on a couple of slides to come. But Matt, thank you very much. And it seems that you know, that process is a continual process, and we changed tact slightly, where we're taking our Dynamos now out into some more open age cricket. And if I just share my screen one more time, we're going to be moving on to our next speaker, who's Dyfrig from Menai Bridge, and he's going to have a chat to you about how he's moved his Dynamos into under-9s cricket. So Dyfrig, the floor is yours.
Good evening, everybody. Hi, I'm Dyfrig from Menai Bridge Cricket Club. I've been the junior coordinator at Menai Bridge for the last 4 or 5 years. And we've got about 140 juniors at the different levels at the moment. Between the All Stars and the Dynamos, I think we've got about 70 children in that age group. What I found with the Dynamos and the All Stars, it was a way sometimes of moving children up to the next level, if that makes sense. If you think of the Dynamo age group, which is between 8 and 11 years old, you know, that's an important age for developing cricket. At the bottom, you're trying to get them play cricket for the first time, and at the top, you're actually trying to get them playing hardball cricket. So the difference in standard and how to get them that interested in cricket without losing them is really important. We use about 12 coaches with the Dynamos and the All Stars, and they're mostly people who are involved in the club, former players or people who are interested in cricket. On a Friday evening, we've got the Dynamos between 5:30 and 6:15, and then the All Stars from 5:30 and 6:15, and then the Dynamos afterwards. What I have been doing is noticing that some of the All Stars players need to be developed further. So they will join the Dynamos or moved up to the Dynamos group, because I think they are in that place already. Within the Dynamos, we've got about 35 children. The need to differentiate is really important. So we will divide them into 2 groups. One looking at developing for the under-9s, maybe softball games, which we organise with other teams through North Wales Cricket. And at the top end, then we look at developing hardball cricket and try to get them involved as well. Last year was the first year we did use Dynamos programme. We'd always been supporting that age group, but last year was the first time we used it. It doesn't finish after the 6 weeks for us. We continue on through the summer until September, and we have barbecues as often as possibly. We also have parents involved as much as possible. That's one thing I think is really important, is communicating with parents. It's already been discussed through WhatsApp group, which works very well. But another thing I've noticed that works well sometimes with parents is just having a quick word as often as possible, not every week, with some parents, just saying how well the children are doing. You know, that gives the children confidence, and it gives the parents confidence that this really works as well, and it keeps them involved. With the, yes, so we continue through the summer, and then we have an end of season kind of medals for everybody, not just part of the Dynamos, but everybody else. We also continue through the winter with the Dynamos. It doesn't stop in the summer holidays with us. We continue the Dynamos age group from November, December, January, February, trying to prepare them for the new season, looking at developing their skills, trying to get them ready for the new season, thinking of preparing them for under-9 softball cricket. So when the season starts, they're ready to go. So we can focus game-based scenarios such as running between the wicket, backing up and so on, etc., all the other things. So that works really well as well. Yeah, so we just try and encourage all the players really to move up to the next level all the time if possible. So some of the better junior players will move up to the next level. Yes, so just keep them enthusiastic and enjoying the cricket. You know, that's the most important thing we're trying to do with the children. Let's think, sorry, I've got a few more things. Yeah, so just trying to get them as busy as possible. So it's done not over just through the summer, but it continues through the winter as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Dyfrig. Some interesting points there and some things to take away. Maybe having different times for your All Stars and Dynamos to have that progression. And certainly look into if coaches have got the energy and you've got the resources to continue that all the way through the off season as well in preparation for the next season. So Dyfrig, really interesting. Moving on again, looking at under 9s, going on to under 11s cricket. I'm just going to introduce Dean from Gowerton, who's got many years of experience of setting up teams, and hopefully you find some really invaluable advice as to how that works and what works to get a brand new under 11s team up and running and playing league cricket. So Dean, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mark. Well, good evening all. Yes, I'm Dean from Gowerton. I'm sure those in the South Wales area may have known me. For those who don't, lucky you, I'd say that. So, as I say, good evening. We've now arrived at this position where you've got a successful All Stars moving through to Dynamos program. You've been running those for 2 or 3 years. You've got all those young people and you're ready to start them playing under 10s cricket and under 11s cricket. And I've kind of got a 6-stage process or 6-step process that I think are things that you'd need to consider to go through. So the first step is one that's been mentioned by most people already. It's regular communication. I think that's really important. The coaching of all of our teams will have set up their own WhatsApp groups, but we've also got a centralized communication system whereby we send out a newsletter or email via email. During the season, it's weekly. During the off season, it's monthly. And that keeps everyone informed of what's happening in all of the teams. So we not really worried just for the under 10s. We want the under 10s to know what's happening at senior level, who's doing well. We want to know everyone to know what fundraising events are going on, what projects are going on, for them all to feel part of the club effectively. So communication is really important to us. They've got their own within their own team communication, WhatsApp groups within that area, but we've also got this external communication, which I lead in terms of junior cricket, where all of our juniors get this newsletter covering everywhere across all of the teams to update them, let them know what's going on. And then moving on to the teams themselves, right, we're ready for under 10s, we're ready for under 11s. My brief is under 11s, but within the South Wales Junior Cricket League, we're very lucky. I don't know how it is with other leagues, but we've got the opportunity to play under 10s cricket and then under 11s cricket. Now, there is a difference between those in that under 10s is incredible cricket and the players, the youngsters get used to wearing protective clothing with that, but they play with the Incredibles, so they don't feel quite so threatened by the weight of the ball. And then the under 11s team take that on, and then they're still wearing protective clothing and they're playing with the hard ball. So if you're lucky enough to do that, I think that's a stepped progression, which is beneficial for them there. You're ready to organize a team, so you need a management team. So you need people then to look after this team. People have talked about earlier, how do you get those volunteers involved? Well, some of those will be keen to develop, to go on with what you've been doing. You will need someone leading it who's got a cricket background. There has to be someone there at the top with the one person who's actually got a background who might be able to help out in terms of scoring, umpiring, or whatever. So you've got to have that experience there. But 5 or 6 other people who are just keen, who are encouragers, who just want to be there and help, may not have played cricket before. It's just as good to have those there and have a team of 6 or 7 parents, most of them, who want to help their young people developing and moving on. So you've got your management team set up. From there, the next stage then, one I think we've lost over the last 2 or 3 years through COVID, is to get a kit bag. Under COVID, of course, we weren't able to have kit bags. Now, for our under 15s and our under 17 teams, you don't need a kit bag. They've all got their own kit. They don't worry about that. But if you're going to start under 11s, they probably have not got their own pads, their own gloves, their own helmet. They may have their bats and whatever, but most of that kit they won't have initially once they first start moving into playing, whether it's under 10s and incredible or under 11s and hardball. So you'll need a kit bag. And we can go back to that now. I think we need to sanitize them more than previously we would have done. Previously, I think that idea there, but certainly this year we're making sure our 10s and 11s have got kit bags which they can use. Then the next step then, and most of us I think have gone away from white clothing, is that we've gone to coloured kit. Now a big problem with that is it's more expensive. Basically, trousers and a top will cost £50 in most clubs, as opposed to getting a white shirt and white trousers, which you could have got relatively cheaply. For many parents, they can manage that. But if you want to look like a team, you need to, everyone to have the same, but some may not be able to afford that. So yes, you're going to move towards that playing kit because you're going to want to look like a team. We've established a hardship fund within the club, so we've got some benefactors who donated some money. And if anyone says, well, I can't afford the kit, and we know what the economic times are at the moment, then they can come to me as junior organizer. I don't ask any questions. I don't tell anybody else. Their kit is provided for them. So we've got that hardship fund for anyone who needs it, which means with a kit bag and with that hardship fund, it's not finance which is stopping those 9s and 10s going on to playing cricket, because there is a significant cost from going from just playing in shorts and t-shirt with a plastic bat to going to playing with helmets, gloves, etc., etc. Fine. Now we've got our team, we've got a management team, we've got a kit bag, we've sorted our playing kit out. We need to arrange fixtures. Well, the first 2 people I'd go to, the port of call there is your local league. They'll be able to put you in touch with other teams and help you to start arranging fixtures there, or your cricket area manager. Now we're lucky that we've got Kerry. I can see Kerry is on the meeting now. Kerry Shahal. He actually only about 2 weeks ago told me about a local club which was looking for under 11s fixtures. They hadn't got other sides. They'd started their Dynamos, their All Stars, going through to Dynamos, and now they're ready to start playing under 11 fixtures. So he put me in touch with the contact there. Dunbantar FC was the team. So I've contacted those. And the first step, I think, for a club who's in that position will be for them this year to play some friendly games. So I'll speak with Mike Arnold at Dunvant. I've done so already. We'll arrange some fixtures with teams at similar standard. We're very lucky. We've got 2 10s teams and 2 11s teams. So we've got plenty of players at those age groups, and we can make sure our team fits who we're playing against and arrange some friendly fixtures in that first year. And then obviously you want to join the league the following year. And then finally, the last step is at the end of the season. I think it's really important to evaluate with your parents anonymously what you've done. I think as clubs, you'll all have your own ethos. And what you're aiming to do as a junior section and as a senior section, we're very clear about what ours is, and we want to make sure our parents are aware of that. And at the end of the season, we want to ask them, have we achieved that? Have we done what you wanted us to do? Have we achieved what we wanted to do? And then we can look to change and adapt from there going forward. So basically, it's that 6-step process. Once you're going from where you're starting with All Stars and Dynamos to getting teams going, I won't go through the 6 steps again, but I think I've set them out. Thank you.
Dean, thank you very much indeed. Some valuable insight from many, many years of experience. And I'm sure that all of our speakers would be able to share their contact details with anybody that wants to explore their processes in more detail. So thank you very much. I'm going to come back to the presentation. Give me a second. I'm going to just come back to the presentation. Please do put a few more questions into the chat box because we'll be opening up for questions shortly. But as Cricket Wales as well, we can support clubs, and there's a myriad of different avenues of support that we do offer. And Ian's just going to quickly go through those because we could talk 10-15 minutes on each subject, but we'll just go whistle stop through each one. Ian.
Thanks, Mark. Yeah, and just reiterate what Mark just said there. Thanks, many thanks to all the guest speakers. Or you just shared your screen again, Mark, and if you want to put that back up. Yeah, thank you ever so much for everyone who's given up their time, not just the speakers today, but all the club leads who got on the call tonight. Really do appreciate it. Hopefully you've learned a little bit. And like I say, I'll quickly run through the Cricket Wales support. And it doesn't just finish here. Our support is exhaustive. You know who you can speak to in your local areas, and say we've got a website that's all singing, all dancing, with lots of information on. So our new activator training, online, face-to-face. Hopefully you're in a position where you've got lots of new activators for this upcoming season and programs, which obviously we all hope we are in that position. Invite them on onto Club Spark. So obviously yourselves as leads, you can do that. From there, they'll be able to access their e-learning modules, the SYC, it'll link up with DBS. They'll also be able to access the online Wales-wide sessions. So an hour long, we've got 3 or 4 set up already. And then also access the face-to-face sessions, which will be all across Wales. They'll be happening around April, May time, ahead of your programme starting. Club programs on Club Spark, we've had a great response so far. Many clubs have uploaded programs, so many thanks to you guys for doing that. If you haven't done I think it's the 15th is when it's launching to last year's previous participants, and then the week after that will be going public. So please get them onto Club Spark as soon as you can. Myself, Mark Dixon, Kerry Jahal, Steve Davis, Carl Holding, we'll all help you if anyone's struggling with that. There is a how-to video which is on our website. That was done last year or the year before. That's still there about how to use Club Spark a little bit more. Coach development courses, we've currently got core coach, foundation, support coach courses booked in the diary. Between those 3 courses across Wales, they're 12 months of the year. So please do go to our website and you'll be able to see what courses we've got on offer. Any volunteers, potential coaches. So if you volunteer who's gone through the All Stars and Dynamos activator training and they like what they'll be able to deliver at clubs, the next step would maybe be foundation course or support coach course, or even goes direct onto the core coach. Say signpost them to our website. And again, Steve Davis, Mark Dixon, myself, we're here to help support. Any questions or queries, send them through to us. And then just finally, club development officers. So they're delivering school sessions via the Chance to Shine programme, and that'll feed into your club's junior sections. And so they're there for your first line of support in this area. And thereafter, they can signpost to any relevant staff departments for further support to you. So just want to reiterate, we are here to support you in all of your club's developments. And say at the end of it, an email, text message or phone, we're here to support you. I think that pretty much covers it. Dixie, have you got anything to add on to that?
Yeah, I think probably one area that we didn't cover was women and girls specific courses, and we have our women and girls team as well that can assist clubs with setting up women and girls sections, and we're happy to share all our information. All our information is on our website. I understand that we were going to look to leave half an hour for Q&A, but can I hand over to Carl, who's been answering some of the questions already, and maybe we can go through some of those, and then we can open the floor up to anybody else that would like to come forward and ask any individual questions of the panel that's already here this evening. So Carl, over to you.
Cheers, Dixie. Cheers, mate. Yeah, so a few questions in the chat box. Some of you might have already seen them. So Mike has mentioned about regarding WhatsApp groups. So Shana, again, you can come in this one if tell us what you do in terms of permission for people entering into a WhatsApp group. So I've kind of shared what I've done is kind of invited parents to join the group as opposed to just adding them. So again, it's the parents consenting to join in the group. I don't know if that's the same with you, Shana.
Yeah, what I tend to do is once they've registered, I've got a template email that then I will obviously personalize that goes out to every parent. And within that is the link for them to join the WhatsApp group. So I never add anybody unless, you know, I personally know them and I've got their number already and I've asked them permission and I'll add them, which is very rare. So yeah, it is normally a link in an email that then gets sent out to them and they join it when they're ready. Yeah,
perfect. Colin has mentioned then around, obviously, I mean, the parents are in control, can withdraw at any time. You can use an app called Sudo, not yet that one. Spond is a favorite of mine, but there are other options out there. Another one for you then, Shana. So did you change the personal message on the registration for parents when they signed that last Powell?
Yeah, so when you can upload the programs onto Club Spark, you can put additional information on there. And I tend to just put a little comment about us wanting to recruit parents as helpers, and just trying to give them just a snippet, just like a one-liner of that's what we want, that's what, you know, what it's about, and there's no, you know, sort of commitment they have to give up front. They can come and go when they want.
Perfect, great. Next kind of question, it's kind of an open question really. What day and time do people think they've had the best success with? Sean's come back from Ponadilla saying Friday nights, Friday evenings. Yeah, I'd agree with that too. Is there anyone else who found a particular day or time that has kind of suited them and seen an increase in numbers, whether they changed it over the last couple of years? Anyone want to come forward? Hopefully you have to.
I think, Carl, on that, it's always interesting to try and obviously fit it in with age group cricket, and what nights are free. Friday nights work for us.
Yeah, I think while we see all the programs being loaded on across our regions, that we do see sometimes slight shift year on year. Sometimes Saturday mornings work, Sunday mornings. It's all based on your resources as well, and whether or not you've got the ground available to host it. Friday nights are great because that's entertainment night. You know, it's opportunity to make some money behind the bar as well, or selling refreshments.
Yeah, Friday night's good for me. So, Paul Rowe, is there an opportunity through Missouri to look at kit bags for teams and supply preferential rates to juniors? Matt Frost, any words of wisdom around Missouri and any opportunities to kind of get some preferential rates on juniors kit?
Very good question. We'll have to ask that. Depends on the volume required, but we can certainly look at that, Carl.
Perfect.
I just think it's an issue with, particularly with size of kit and getting the right. I mean, most in both we've got kit, but more often than not, it doesn't fit. It's just having the right amount of kit, or even if you can signpost the kids to it and say, if you want to buy kit, this is what we recommend you get. So that at least they're doing that, or even because if you buy a kit bag, guaranteed it might fit some, it might not fit others. So especially if you're starting out, it's more often than not, it's not appropriate.
Just something on clothing. It's Dave from Amford. What we tend to do, having quite a largest junior section, is have kit sizing nights where we just invite everybody down over a 4 or 5 day period. We work with our suppliers to get samples of clothing so they can go and try it all on. And then depending on what arrangement you've got with the supplier, you can either place the order for them or they then know what size to order themselves.
Great, thanks, Dave.
Carl, can I just come in here? With respect to the kit bag, we're referring to equipment. You know, I know what Dean is talking about. Years ago, Dean, I remember we used to have the Lord Taverners Fund, and there used to be a brilliant kit bag. There was 2 or 3 sizes of bats, 2 or 3 sizes of pads. There were 2 or 3 helmet sizes. That's the kit bag we're looking for. Essentially, there is an opportunity to get that funded through the Sport Wales Be Active front. It's to do with activity. You guys, you know, there's boys and girls playing, so you meet the gender requirement, you meet the more activity for young people requirement. So, you know, outside of this meeting, you know, if anybody's got any conversations or issues around getting funding, just come into your area teams where we'll explain it to you. The Be Active Wales Fund is getting broader and wider in which they'll in which areas they will actually support. So I wouldn't worry, you know, if we can get that funding through Sport Wales, then you know, you can choose a supplier of your own choosing.
Great. Okay, thanks, Kerry. The next one then from Chris. So are the ECB Cricket Wales looking at adapting their apps to incorporate a WhatsApp style chat? Obviously, WhatsApp has potential data protection issues. Mark or Kerry, Sue, I don't know if there's anything from a higher level in terms of ECB in terms of incorporating some sort of chat.
No, there's not at the moment. Obviously, they're facing challenges with everything. It's a good idea what Chris is saying, but I think the functionality that they've got for communication is that email all, and I think they're hoping that, you know, people in the network do as Sian has just described and others have described around, you know, personalizing a message, getting the parents, you know, the opportunity to actually sign up as a personal choice, and, you know, through a link. But that's a good idea, Chris. But at the moment, it hasn't come through our sort of our visibility of what they're looking to do at the moment.
Cool, thanks, Kerry. Dixie, that's it in terms of what's in the chat. So.
Okay, so should we open it up to the floor? Is anybody interested in asking a question of our panel or the Cricket Wales team that they feel that they'd like to find out some more information about? We've covered a lot of areas, and these discussions could go on for many days. So we're more than happy to take this offline if you'd like. But if anybody would like to come forward and ask anything around our programs or junior cricket in general, we're more than happy to offer our advice. Looks like we might be giving you 5 minutes back of your evening. Okay, so
I think, Mark,
yes.
Yeah, I think, Mark, this has been a brilliant night, and thank you guys for putting it together. But the big message I'm getting here, this is the 7th year of All Stars. I didn't realise that. I got into the role with Cricket Wales the same year as All Stars started, and we all wanted to have this big bottom of the pyramid, because I came into the job with everybody saying, "Oh, cricket is on the, you know, it's dying on the way on the wane there," and literally we have this big bottom of the pyramid, and we're trying to, you know, ensure that feeds up. And I think the big message here for me, because I get involved in these programs when things don't happen the way that they're happening on this call, the big message for me is the minute the children are starting to sign up, the proactive sort of the likes of Matthew and Shana and the rest of the team that are on here are actually interrogating that information weekly. I see clubs just letting it go, or we're not starting until May, and all of a sudden 3 weeks out they've got 45 All Stars. They're happy that they're getting the money back through the sort of the refund that goes into the club, but they absolutely haven't paid any attention to the conversations that have happened here. So if there's a lesson to be learned going forward for all these clubs and for the people on the call, is the minute the 15 starts and you start getting sign-ups, and those sign-ups start growing through the coming weeks, is to be proactive and do the things that Shana just mentioned and Matthew, to try to make sure that you have the right support on the day at the ground. And it's really interesting to hear that Shana doesn't probably get involved. She's the control individual that goes around and talks to parents. I absolutely see so many clubs, or I'm the lead, and I've been to some clubs, and that lead is in the middle of running a session, and the parents are in a corner doing what they want, and some kids are not being attended to over in one corner. So good practice is huge, and I think we've heard it exceptionally done well from the speakers here. So just that proactive message, the minute you get sign-ups is the minute you need the support team around it.
Thanks, Kerry. I totally support that sentiment, and very, very good luck with your programs this summer. And even if it's under 10s and 11s cricket, you know where the Cricket World support is. And once again, thank you to our speakers, Shana, Matt, Dyfrig, and Dean. And we'll be staying online just for the last 5 minutes. So thank you very much for joining us. Ian, probably the right time now to stop the recording. We'll be posting this on social media and our YouTube and website in the days coming. So thank you very much for joining us, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Good night.